Hello?
What's up, girl? What happened after Tony dumped you?
Girl, I'm over it. I went from heartbreak to hate.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Joy.
I love it when I sneak in there and I get to be first.
Oh, it's okay. You're a woman and you're allowed to be first sometimes.
Oh, thanks. How condescending of you.
It's America.
So,
What are we talking about this week?
we're going to talk about witches.
Witches. I thought we were talking about pelvic floors. There's a rejuvenation thing now you can buy at CVS so you don't have to pee all over yourself. I saw a commercial the other day. PSA.
Okay. Good to know. I'll look for that later.
Witches, witchcraft, Wiccans,
Hoodoo.
voodoo, you-do.
All manner of heathenry.
Heathenry.
Yeah, well, depends on who you ask.
Exactly. So what do you want to talk about first?
I don't know. Do you want to give us a little bit of a lesson about where it all began?
Oh,
with
okay.
white people, I'm sure, is where it began.
Oh, yeah. White people are significantly witchier. But, you know, witchcraft, technically, the term witchcraft applies to a lot of things that aren't necessarily witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, things were going on everywhere in the world, paganist, African tribes, where they worshipped gods and they worshipped things and blah, 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 blah. But actually,
Okay.
true witchcraft, the true meaning of, is just harnessing energy and transferring it to yourself for the purpose of helping yourself or helping others, or hurting yourself and hurting others.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a very simple way to put it.
it's a very simple definition of witchcraft.
Where it gets murky is when it was really kind of a thing, right? Because as you pointed out, everybody was pretty much pagan thousands of years ago.
Pagan in some way, shape, or form. And the
Right.
term pagan is, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's hard because it's like there's no real term that truly defines it, but it's like what we mean is not one of the Abrahamic faiths, obviously. And
Obviously.
it's like more nature-oriented, more, mystical.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's the hard thing is to know when did witchcraft really pop up? Was it the Salem witch trials? Was that when it started?
Well, it started before that. There was, there was definitely the Crusades in Europe to eliminate witches. There was a book called The Hammer of the Witches that was written, and it described how to tell how to tell that a person is a witch, and then the ways to put them to death.
So it sounds like a lovely bedtime story. That
Yeah,
you could just read.
it's like the Malleus Maleficarum, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm really bad with Latin, so
Latin wasn't even an option, okay, when I went to school.
it was weird. It was an option still when I was in junior high, and I looked forward to taking Latin in high school, and then no,
No,
you get Spanish.
Oh,
And only Spanish.
okay.
No French, no French, no Latin.
No Latin.
Because Latin comes in handy if you're a witch, a true witch.
Right.
Which a lot of things are written in Latin.
So, okay, yeah, I said a true witch. I'm sorry. I'm burning in
I
my spirit.
know.
We're going to put a pin in it and come back to it, but I can't
Please do.
wait.
See, okay, so I feel like we're being very nice so far on the show,
Right.
and I just need to be an asshole about it. So,
Here we go.
to me, as a person who was a witchcraft.
That was impressive. How were you then?
I'm making T-shirts this week. Buy one on my web store. Was a witch early on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's very basic in that you study all kinds of things and weather and candle burning and reading cards and meditating and focusing energy on things. And I feel it's very basic. Anybody could do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just putting energy into things. But the bastardization of it.
That's where I
Yeah.
know you get violently angry.
I get violently angry and violently happy.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to get violently angry, but it is the bastardization of it all, and I think that's the thing that a lot of true witches are really speaking out about and saying, just all manner of things that are coming out. You know, that everybody has sage now.
Oh yeah.
And you know, all other kinds of tools. But you know, you go and you buy them from some hippie store in the mall.
Right. Everybody
you know,
has
you
tarot
don't know what you're doing.
cards.
Everybody has crystals. Sorry, thank you. I
Yes.
couldn't remember all the things that have been
Yeah.
bastardized. And then you get into the different brands. You know, we were looking at some amazing sites
Yeah.
that clearly defined all of the ways in which you could be a witch, every type of witch, even a Christian witch.
God damn it. God damn it.
I
I felt you were gonna wait till later.
I know, but I couldn't. Sorry. Sometimes I need my dessert first, and I can't. I can't wait for the good stuff. I just feel.
So Joy felt the need to ruin my Wednesday morning by sending me a link about this lovely, lovely white woman who was a Christian witch.
A Christian witch. Mm-hmm.
And her advice on how to be a Christian witch.
Which I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm
Which?
upset. Right, sorry. Which I'm going to say that my problem with it is just more from a purity sake, okay? And then I'll let you have your violent anger. But for my sake, like, that you just can't have both. I'm sorry. Because I grew up Christian, right?
Right.
So there's no Christian living that would tell you, that's not like some crazy hippie millennial, right? That would tell you that you could be a Christian witch. It's just not a thing. Like, that's Christianity and witchcraft do not go together.
Right.
Not in the old school sense of Christianity. Like, it's very.
The stoning.
It's all
the
the
putting to death.
Well, it's all the anti-mysticalness of it. It's all putting your faith into Jesus, and it's all looking to God, right? So it's not, I can make things happen on my own, and you know what I mean, and focusing. It's just
Stick
not
to your
that.
prayers, Susan, and call it a fucking day. Here, I'm gonna flip this on you.
Okay.
Let's not have Baub get angry.
Let's not have
because
Baub.
Christian witch incites fire in me.
Okay.
But what if Christianity was witchcraft? And prayers were the concentration of energy.
So, from your definition, I suppose I'm over here rolling my eyes as I try to answer this question seriously. From your definition, technically, yes. I suppose that's possible.
So isn't everything technically witchcraft?
No, it isn't.
No. Okay. So you can't have one or the other. Here's the thing. If you're going to be a Christian witch, just be Wiccan. It's already a religion. It's already established with the United States government. It's considered a religion, therefore not witchcraft. And, just do your shit. I mean,
But then that's the problem, because Wiccans themselves, so you have to pull witchcraft out of it again, as you said.
mm-hmm.
The Wiccans are earth-based, right? And nature-based.
Right.
Therefore, you can't also be Christian, because the two belief systems don't go together.
So you can't be a theist, essentially. You can't believe in one God, essentially.
Well, no, yes, because, okay, you only believe in one God if you're Christian. That's
Correct.
my point.
Yes.
Yes. Now, no, Wiccans can't be Christian. I'm sorry, I'm not allowing it.
Because you're taking Christianity to the basis of Christianity,
Yes.
which people don't even follow anymore anyway. But you're saying you believe in God. God handles everything.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus handles everything. He forgave your sins, so you can go murder 5 people, come back, you're cool. Do you, Susan. But, on Sunday it's cool. But in witchcraft, Wiccan, hoodoo, voodoo, other types of things, there are these other entities involved.
Mm-hmm.
Witchcraft, typically, you would call on spirits, which obviously was satanic to Christians because you were talking to ghosts and things like that, and not through God.
Right.
So,
And hoodoo's a kind of a tricky one that we're going to get
right,
into.
we'll get into hoodoo
We'll get
a little
into
later.
hoodoo, how it's a little bit of an exception.
It's an exception because of white people. Yeah. So we'll talk about hoodoo later. because it's near and dear to my poisonous heart. But Christian witch, it's part of this trend, and I bitched about this on our Bitch About Something podcast, where I complained about how now Christians are into astrology. All these things are acceptable now that we're, deemed witchcraft, and like, looking to the stars to understand things like science. Science is bad, even witch science. But now everybody wants to be a witch. So it's Witchcraft BC. No, it's AC. What is it? Yeah, it's AC. Why did I say BC? AC, after the craft.
After the craft. Yes, it's true. I was going to say, it's the craft, it's the charm.
Which I love the craft because love all the actresses in that movie. But, it's Hocus Pocus, it's the craft, it's the generation that was brought up where witches were, the movie of the witches, where witches were a trendy thing in the early 90s. You have the Charmed of it all. Who doesn't want to be Alyssa Milano? I do. I want to be Rose McGowan forever, ever since I've seen her, and whatever. But witchcraft is now more of a visual thing. Like, you have to visually look like a witch in order to be taken seriously.
It's like a part to play.
Yes. So it's like, you have hipsters, you have, I don't know what the new term is for young kids that look like they're homeless with Bill Cosby sweaters on. But then you have the people who dress like they're Wiccan.
Right.
Also, The Coven, the American Horror Story season of The Coven, which was a great show. That sparked a lot of all dressed in black, all wear big hats, like everyone wants to look pseudo pilgrimy.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to describe it.
Yeah,
yes.
it's like a modern pilgrim.
Yeah, so it's more about like your aesthetic and like this is my style.
Right, and getting like Phoenician script on your hands and getting other like witchcraft symbols tattooed on you, which perfectly fine, because that's against God. But I don't know. Like it just becomes it's sort of this trendy thing. Like, I blame Hot Topic. I blame all these making witches cool. Because the craft witches were cool. I don't know about Hocus Pocus people, but anyway.
No.
I know there are people out there that will get enraged if I talk badly about Hocus Pocus, so we'll just leave that off the table.
Yeah, that's like a cult thing.
It is.
Put the Hocus Pocus down and walk away.
Calm down, it's a Disney movie. Anyway, so now because of all the trendness of it, we now have to split our witchcraft into categories.
Yes. I was quite impressed with the list that you found. So Bob sent me this site where somebody had come up with all the different types of witch that you could be, as opposed to just, focusing in different areas. You know what I mean? Like it all being part of your craft.
Right.
It was like, I'm a sea witch, or I'm an animal witch.
I'm a dolphin witch.
I'm a lavender witch. Wasn't that one of them?
Lavender witch, yes.
Like,
and which
like
on that website they had the term hedge witch listed on there, which was supposed to do something with greens and working with, but actually the term hedge witch means a witch who is not a part of a coven, and that's been a term that's been around forever. So I don't understand why this person felt the need to just.
And that wasn't the only term that had been around that they took and then twisted, right? Because it was like animal was another one.
Yeah, like the thing of it is, it's like part of witchcraft. If you actually study the crafts of witch, there's candle witches, there's meditation witches. All of that is part of it. So is it a concentration hour? Are we going to college about this? Do we have to separate into schools?
I majored in lavender witchery and with a minor in dolphin.
That would make a beautiful dream catcher. So say you're a lavender dolphin witch.
Okay, I am.
What does that mean to you?
Well, I really just Work with the essence of lavender.
Which is a dry land plant.
But the essence of lavender it's deeper than you know. That's kind of why I'm a lavender witch and you're not.
Oh.
And so just kind of experience things in lavender tones, my eyesight and whatnot. And then, of course, I communicate with the dolphins.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which is amazing considering she lives in central
Illinois, yes. And there are no dolphins. But, our reach is beyond space.
Hey, yeah, I mean, if you meditate enough, you can talk to a dolphin. I believe in that.
Absolutely. So I think the thing is, because somebody would say, well, I can't help when I was born, right? And let's say
Let me have my shit, get over it.
Yes. And I think that what we would say in return is it's not that you can't be a witch even if you were only born 20 years ago.
Right.
It's just, are you finding, or how are you really honoring what you're saying you want to do? And are you going down a bastardized path, or are you truly learning the history? Are you truly, learning your craft as it was? You know what I mean? And not just like, this is something cute and this is part of my style. This is my new.
Well, it's like this. I mean, so, Hot Topic had a hand in the bastardization of witchcraft and its jewelry and all that. But then now we're into a Claire's, if you will, period of witchcraft, in which Claire's, if you'd like to sponsor our show, we're open for all sponsorships. We love your jewelry that turns people's ears from
so green.
So green. And everything's under $6. But, it doesn't, I don't know. I'm a purist in a lot of things, like mashed potatoes.
As we know.
And I just feel that for something that you don't have to look like something to do, you don't need to look like it, the idea that you have in your head of it, to do it. And then, if you don't look like one of them, and you say you're a witch, the looks.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, you're a witch, but you're wearing pink.
Right.
You can't possibly be a witch. You have to wear all black, which I do. But that's beside the point. That's not for witchcraft. That's for me. I don't understand. It's like a return of back in the day when I was into my witchcraft phase. There was another girl in my school that was in a witchcraft phase as well, and made fun of for it. Like, it was so. I mean, I understand that was 20-something years ago, and the world was different then.
Yes.
And I had other things to deal with because I was gay. But, now it seems like if you went to school, a popular kid would be a witch.
It very much so seems that way.
So it's just like you can be whatever you want to be. Wait, is that the American way? No, the American way is putting witches to death. And listen, Bailey, no one's going to put you to death just because you decided you were going to wear all black and call yourself a lavender witch.
But if you were a lavender witch, wouldn't you have to wear lavender?
I don't know, because the lavender color really is not mutually exclusive to the plant, right? Because it's very subjective. People don't necessarily know what lavender is.
That's true.
Because people will tell you that a very light violet can be a lavender, or maybe even a darker periwinkle.
Okay, I feel we spent too much time on lavender witches, and we must now move on.
All right. But, there's still the dolphin witch to contend with. But no, I think, I don't understand it. It's hard for me. I don't know why you have to separate things. Why you have to create categories for people.
Maybe it was just for them to be able to have a purpose for their website.
Oh. And there definitely are witches who practice candle magic more. And you get into whatever works for you. But, like I said, I'm very pure in my way of thinking. And witchcraft is just a transfer of energy and concentration of energy into things that you want. Therefore, You don't need candles.
Right.
You don't need other things. If you're good at concentrating, I don't know.
I know.
It's
You're
all,
trying-
it's all
you're trying to-
possibilities and probabilities.
It is, and you're trying to go too basic because we live in an accessory world.
Right, I like accessories.
Okay, don't we all?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, sometimes a bitch needs an accessory to focus, maybe.
True, and that's part of candles.
Mhm.
I mean, I get it. Got it. Good.
Good.
All right, so on to real magic. Can we talk about real magic, or what do you want to talk
No,
about?
we can talk about real magic, absolutely.
Do we want to talk about hoodoo now?
I was wondering if that was partly where you were going to go.
Let's go hoodoo.
Because you know we both love it.
So we know who, as for the kids at home, voodoo and hoodoo are two separate, different practices.
Completely separate.
Completely separate. They just happen to be Americanly indigenous to the same area, but separated by tribes in Africa and the practices there that came to America.
Yeah, completely different beliefs.
Now you're hoodoo because that's your lineage.
Family lineage, correct.
Exactly. So Joy's hoodoo, Creole. I landed on hoodoo because I would read about different types of witchcraft, and I didn't want to pray to leprechauns and things like that, and it seemed a little bit more because as I was studying different types of witchcraft and like reading on things, I was also still very much in the Christian church, and so hoodoo has a polytheist kind of relationship with the saints
Right.
of the Catholic religion.
Yes, it is influenced.
And it's influenced, as you want to talk about why it's got the saints all into it.
I would love to talk about why it's got saints all in it. So, because hoodoo was practiced by slaves, and a lot of it was really all about protection, and really just trying to make the best of these horrible circumstances that they were in. But you had to figure out how to be able to practice your faith without, getting the shit beat out of you for it. And so they learned how to disguise it. Hoodoo is amazing in that it can shift and shape however it needs to be so that you can, it can be hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
So that's what the slaves did. They learned how to take on some of the Christian aspects of it. The saints, a lot of the Bible, a lot of things in hoodoo involve the Psalms, and scriptures like that. And so it has a very Christian seeming aspect to it because that's how they figured out how to make it so that they could still do it, basically, and not be found out.
So there was a slave back in the day that thought the exact way I did when I said Christianity was witchcraft.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's similar.
Yeah,
it's a prayer too. It's energy. I mean, there's definitely a preparation, more of an altar, more of a aspect similar to voodoo that you would see. But there's seemingly lots of objects that are created to put the energy into. Like my favorite thing is a sweet jar, and they did oils,
A lot of
candles, and so the energy was placed into that through prayer, similar to the Santeria candles, the prayers to the saints, and those types of things. So very similar, but like you said, used to hide the fact that it was all I'm air quoting witchcraft.
Right. And the beautiful thing about it is a lot of the things that you use when you're doing your workings or your conjures are so basic and can be found.
Basic.
So basic. Because, I mean, you think about it, they didn't have, all these fancy things to work with. So you used, dirt from your property. Sometimes you would use a broom.
A nail from a fence post.
Yes, you would, if you could get your hands on money, some of the things have like shredded money included in it, handkerchiefs, just really simple.
Sweet jars are basically a piece of wood that you can write someone's name on, honey and sugar in a jar and water.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all very basic. So basic that, like you said, can be hidden in plain sight. You have a jar of honey and sugar on your shelf.
Yeah. What's anybody going to think?
What's anybody going to think? If they're going to think it's something you're pickling or something like that. So it's definitely hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. And even if you're like some of them you read from scripture and things like that, it's like, oh, look at that. She is really into her Bible. That is real wonderful.
Yeah. So Whereas a Christian witch,
That's a little different because that's definitely, as we were saying,
that's the aesthetic of a witch.
the aesthetic of a witch, but trying to have the place of a Christian. And it's like, I feel like you said, like I said, the basic definition of Christianity doesn't allow for witchcraft in that sense, and
Yeah.
hoodoo is different because of the way it was built and the necessity for it. So, and it's really more of a practice
Right.
as opposed to a religious belief.
Right,
in
because a
the-
lot of things, certain witchcraft, earlier witchcraft, it wasn't just saying a spell and it's done. It was concentrating energy for days at a time, like revisiting, like I keep going back to the sweet jar, but just revisiting the sweet jar once or twice a week, putting more energy into it, more prayer into it. And so it was a continual shift of energy, not
Yeah.
just boom.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the important thing to understand about these older practices is they aren't.
They're practices.
They're practices. You don't do something one day and magically it.
No.
No. There's prep before you even do some of the workings.
Which
and
now
then,
can be purchased on Etsy.
No, don't even get me started. So then before you can even start the work, and then the work continues. A lot of them aren't, this is one day, boom, bang, you're done. It's like you said, it's continual. So I think we just can't reiterate that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that brings a great point. The other Baub who just talked just a second ago about Etsy, and that. Do you buy spells off Etsy?
No, you don't buy spells off of it. I'm sorry. I will not get violently angry. Now you're trying to get me. And
I'm trying to incite
know,
anger.
And I can tell when you just like, I went there and then I pulled myself back like, this is a trick.
This is witchery.
This. Nice. I see what you did there.
Yes. Because, if you look it up on the internet now, everything's done for you. Back in the day, you would have your local hoodoo witch or hoodoo practitioner, as more so called than witches, that you could
Yeah,
go
your
to.
hoodoo worker, your conjurer.
Yeah, you go to, they do things for you. You'd bring them an item and they, make a gree bag, just kind of like go through things. And, but now
Everybody thinks they can do hoodoo.
they can just make it. We've actually even joked about just making an Etsy store where we make shit for people, and it's basically Dawn.
And and most of the stuff when you go down to New Orleans, it's all bastardized, hoodoo and or voodoo items down
Well,
there.
it's the Disney World of witchcraft, right?
It's the sweet jar in an oil perfume that you can purchase. You know what I mean? Or money essence oil. You know what I mean? It's all these particular oils and things, and
It's always the money essence oil.
it's always the money essence oil.
Because you know what? If you I wish you never would have brought that up, because that is the worst one for me. That one is a slot machine in a bar. That one is a lottery ticket in a gas station. That is just like, it's something for false hope.
Yeah. But it's a perfect American thing.
Yeah.
Because we always want
More money.
We always want the end product without having to have done any of the work, any of the practice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just give it to me now. I want to purchase it and be done. And I want it to arrive in my doorstep on 2 days. So
That's only if you have Amazon Prime.
I'm sorry, then whatever. However long it takes to come on Etsy.
Yeah, so is there anything you'd like to say to? I just noticed that your fingernails were not lavender.
I know. I'm a lavender witch.
I
It's a
gotcha,
true story.
gotcha.
So what I just want to say is you can be anything you want to be, right? This, it's a free world mostly. But
For certain people.
For certain people.
So
It
all
depends
white
on your
males can be
country.
whatever they want to be.
And remember that to be beautiful and natural is the birthright of every woman. And I wish you all loads and loads of loveliness and good luck.